One of the most important things that we should review is how much to fill the NMR tube. So this is the NMR tube we provide. This is 120 millimeters long, and we advise that you do use that rather than standard NMR tubes, which are about 7 inches long, because it's very difficult to load a concentrated dispersion in a standard NMR tube with a glass pipette. So we recommend these disposable pipettes. They're 3 milliliter pipettes, and we've adjusted the length of the NMR tube so that conveniently the end of the pipette goes down to the bottom of the tube. That makes it a lot easier to get the sample in there. So what you want to do is you want to fill up the pipettes about to there. I've made a little mark just to give you an approximate idea how much you should fill up the pipette before you fill up the NMR tube. So I'm going to fill up this tube with a verification liquid, which is the liquid we use to adjust the relaxation, the resonant frequency of the machine. This sample is a solution of copper sulfate and water. Once you've inserted the sample in this tube and capped it, you can use this over and over and over. You don't have to keep on replacing it. So this container of verification liquid could last you several years. So I'm going to take off the top. Inside the manual, there's a MSDS sheet for the verification liquid. What I'm going to do is go like this. So I'm going to stick this in here like that and fill it up about like that. Then I'm going to take this and insert it in the tube, and I'm going to squeeze the tube as I'm withdrawing the sample, and voila. So now I've filled up my NMR tube to the correct height. You don't need to mark all these tubes, you just need to have the fill height approximate, but you should aim to fill the samples to the same height. So I put on the sample top, then I insert it in the machine. Now the next thing we do is over here in the software. So up at the top, I'm going to select Setup, Find Resonance Fine Tune. Once I've loaded the verification liquid in the instrument, I click that. Now down in the lower right hand corner, you can see the software say acquiring sleeping. So it only takes a few seconds for that to be completed. So now it says the Fourier transform of the FID was used to determine the resonant frequency. A new resonant frequency was found. Okay, so let's just perform a single pulse FID measurement to see that we're in fact on resonance. So I'm going to click Start. And you see that I've got a red line and a blue line, and I have no oscillations. This means that I'm on resonance. If I wasn't on resonance, what I would observe is sinusoidal oscillations damped as a function of time. Okay, so that's all we need to do to set up the instrument. So now I'm going to make a measurement on titanium dioxide. So this is a common pigment material. In this particular case, this happens to be 10 weight percent TiO2. Now, TiO2 is a dense particle, so you have to make sure that your particles are well dispersed. It's important that the concentration of the liquid that you put inside the NMR tube is actually the concentration that you prepared inside the sample vial. So we typically make up 20 grams of a 10% dispersion of TiO2. Now I'm going to set up the software first. So what I'm going to do is select T2 auto parameters. Usually we use T2. It's a lot quicker. I have to put an anticipated value for T2. The standard software value is 1,000. As long as the relaxation time that you're measuring is larger than the anticipated value, is smaller than the anticipated value, you're fine. In this particular case, I'm going to put 300, which I think is smaller than the correct value, but we'll see how to deal with that in a minute. So I'm going to put TiO2 down here. I've already entered in the temperature of the room, 23.3 degrees. Now, down here on the bottom, if you look where it says file name, I'm going to click the floppy disk icon, and it shows me a mask. So the software by default calls each experiment, the type of experiment, T1 or T2, and a sequence number. But I like to be able to see the material I'm testing. So I'm going to select the term experiment here, delete that, then I'm going to insert the sample name. Now, if you see here, my sample file name is going to be TiO2 T2 measurement, then a number. So I'm just going to insert a space between these two so it's a little easier to read. Do that again. Okay, so now if you see down here under file name, it says TiO2 T2 measurement 0001.